Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Ladies Get Your Prance On. Ooh, I'm getting tongue twisted because I'm so excited. We have Elizabeth Hall in the house from Orlando, Florida, who is the Twitter goddess. She is like everything about Twitter that you want to know. And myself, I've been a Twitter user for, I think, like 4 or 5 years, but I have no clue of the etiquette with Twitter, how to do Twitter properly. And so, Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
I am so excited to have you because when I met you via LinkedIn, so a lot of people don't know, where do I meet my guests that I asked to come on the show? And I met you via LinkedIn, and I saw that you have helped over 1,200 business people using Twitter to help with their brand and their purpose. And so I just want you to go ahead and just jump in and just share what is one of the misconceptions that people have about Twitter.
Well, I'll tell you, mostly when I talk to people about Twitter, or I just kind of listen in on conversations when I'm like at networking events and things like that, the number one thing that I hear from them is that they don't use Twitter because they don't know how. Like they just don't they don't understand how it can work for their business. So that's kind of like the number one thing that I hear. And, you know, lots of people use Twitter on a personal level as well, and they still find it they find it cumbersome, but Twitter is actually it's a really simple network to use. But if you're using it for business, of course, then there are some things that you can do to kind of boost your business presence on there just a bit more than if it was just a personal account.
Absolutely. So how did you get into making Twitter? Because I mean, that you are the Twitter goddess out there. I mean, of all the people I researched for Twitter, you are the number one guru of Twitter. So how did you fall into that? Because you've been training for business professionals for over 20 years.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, originally I started out as a virtual assistant many years ago. And I did things remotely. So I worked online then as well. And what I found was I had a blog before, people knew what blogging was. I was a virtual assistant before people knew what a virtual assistant was. And what I wanted to do was kind of shift my business, because I think that's what most business owners do or need to do, is kind of shift things the way that, technology is shifting. And so I kind of shifted the business into the social media realm, and I started helping people with all things social media. I helped them with Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, you name it. All the major social networks I helped people with. And, there's some things that you can do across the board as a business when it comes to using social media. But what I found was that Twitter was the easiest social network to use for businesses to market themselves. And so I really wanted to kind of immerse myself and kind of niche things down to help people more within that particular specific industry, and just help them to use Twitter to market their business. So I wrote a book about it. I did the Twitter Marketing Action Sheets Guide, which is actually on Amazon and can be purchased there as well. And in the book, it kind of walks people through how to, build their goals and their objectives when it comes to using Twitter, and kind of get into a workflow, because, you can't just put things on, just can't do that set it and forget it type of thing. You have to kind of have a workflow that'll work for you and not take you a lot of time. And I found that Twitter was it's an easy network to do that on. And so that's why I started focusing on that. And I also created the Twitter Mastery Lab. So at the twittermasterylab.com, businesses, again, can really learn they can learn that flow of how to kind of make business part of, or should I say, how to make Twitter like part of their business. Yeah. Make it like an online asset that will work for them and get leads into the door.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, one thing that I find the timing kind of ironic that we've scheduled, because we've scheduled out to do this show in advance. And as we've wrapped up the political election, the person who became our president, he
Yeah.
totally credits it to using Twitter. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he said that Twitter, I mean, he gives total kudos. And so I find that it's ironic that the timing of having you on the show, because I still don't understand why he said that. Like, what was the difference for him in Twitter? Like, how was he able to use Twitter to reach so many people?
Well, Twitter is a place where you can get like real time news. So when things happen, as long as your followers are online, then they're going to be able to kind of jump on the bandwagon with you. They'll see the things that you post. Just like when Trump, he posted things out there, and people were able to have conversations about it like right away in real time, and they could kind of see how things unfolded. And he did that through the use of Twitter.
Yes, and and this isn't for or against Trump. I do not want to make this political,
Right.
but it was really interesting because before we did the show, I actually went on to, because I heard that, I actually went on to his Twitter account and saw that he says some pretty crazy things out there too. And so I guess what I realize is that it's a great place to express however you feel. I mean, if you feel about if you feel about emotional, because you support, you're very active for supporting children's rights and civil rights and women's rights. So Twitter can also be a great platform for people who are passionate about something. Like for myself, I am for women's rights. When we had this recent thing with this college swimmer who got away, the judge handed down a very lenient thing for raping a woman.
Right.
I saw that Twitter was a great tool for me. This is where I express and shared, like, this isn't right. And so Twitter can be used for that too. So, but getting back to business, because this is why I invited you on, and thank you for being patient with me I kind of go off a little. That's kind of how I roll, so people can know more. How can people, what is the missing ingredient that women have told you that how they could use Twitter for their business? Like, how could I use Twitter in my business? I'm an intuitive card reader. I'm a hypnotherapist. So how could somebody like myself, a healer, use Twitter for my benefit?
Well, I'll tell you, with most people and women also, is that you need to have a relevant following on there. Lots of people, they say, I'm going to get on Twitter and I need lots of followers. And lots of people come to Smart Office Help, and because Smart Office Help helps people with their Twitter management. And the first thing that they ask for, they said, we want lots of followers. Okay. And the problem with that is you don't want lots of followers. You want quality followers. Yeah. And so even for you in the business that you're in, you want to look for people that are receptive to your message. Okay. And there's actually, there's techniques out there that you can use to actually do that, to attract the right people to your profile organically. And then there's ways to talk to those people so that you can keep them engaged, and you can kind of help them to make decisions as to whether they're going to follow you off of the Twitter platform, to where I always say where the magic happens. And the magic happens, it could be in your website, it could be at your brick and mortar store, it could be, for counseling sessions offline. So it's all about kind of guiding your followers off of Twitter. So, yes, I help people to like build their profiles and to learn more about Twitter and how to use it. But ultimately, one thing that people don't realize is that the selling does not happen on any social network. Yeah. So if you see anyone that's trying to sell you like a system that says you can sell more of these widgets using Twitter or any other social network, then it's really just, it's not true. Yeah. What you're doing is you're developing that know, like relationship with people, know, like, and trust, so that they will actually, they'll start having conversations with you. they'll be picking up value added information from you, and then they'll start following you off of the Twitter platform again to where you can actually, start helping them by providing them services and goods that's going to help them along with their business, or maybe just, their personal life. Of course, it depends on what you have to give.
Yeah. Elizabeth, I'm already in just a short amount of time, I am already learning that I've been very generic with Twitter. And like you said, who do I want my followers to be? And it sounds like, just like with LinkedIn, I'm very mindful of what I share because I want to show myself as the expert. Yeah. And so I've been sharing like humor out there, which I guess humor is still okay, to let people see that warm side of you. But at the same time, I am not thinking about who I want as my potential clients when I use Twitter. Right. That is my big, like my ding ding, my little aha moment.
And you know what? That's a key thing. And I think a lot of us, when we first start, we don't really think about that. We just think, get our names out there. And if we're going to use Twitter, we're just going to send out posts, and this really doesn't have any rhyme or reason to it. And just like the following, it should be a rhyme and reason to like who you want to follow you back. You just don't want anybody following you back. And then again, you want to post things out there also that's relevant to your message or kind of leads people back to your business. And that's something that we don't think about. They just think we have to post out lots of content. We have to post out a lot, but they don't think about what does those little pieces that 140 characters contain. Does it contain anything that's going to be valuable and going to lead people back to you? That's the key ingredient, is leading people back to your business.
And that's why having you on the show, because right now you've shared so much valuable information, and I do encourage the people that are watching today. Elizabeth, she is hands-on. She is warm. She's loving. Her heart is full, and she will help you to use Twitter so you can help your business and help you clarify who your ideal client is. That's really important. Like you said, it's not about the number of followers. It's about the quality of the followers. And that is a big misconception that a lot of people have. They have a lot of people. Yeah. So I want to segue before I want to continue to talk about Twitter, but I also like the people who watch the show to know a little bit more about you. That makes you real and makes you human because you are the expert. So one of the things I found interesting on your LinkedIn profile is you talked about zombies. I'm totally going off. I'm going off crazy. So why zombies, and how did you become interested in zombies? Because that's a very popular, cult going on right now.
I think I'm kind of, I've always loved not so much horror, but I'm kind of like a sci-fi kind of buff anyway. And that's one thing that people don't know about me. I have a really nerdy side behind me. I love, all things sci-fi. And even as a kid, me and my brothers, we used to watch things that had the zombies in it. And, if it was too scary or gory, we might kind of pass that on. But, a lot of zombies, it's just fun. Yeah. And, if you go to events where, there's zombies, I did like a zombie run, and, you could just, you can see it right back there on the wall. There's a zombie run, and you could dress up, and it's just a fun thing to do. And I guess it's important for people to know that I kind of know that probably will never happen realistically, but it's just kind of a fun thing to kind of latch on to. And then, with the Walking Dead, it's like a zombie soap opera.
Well, one of my earliest memories, because I'm 58 years old, my earliest memory was The Night of the Living Dead at the movie theater, and it was in black and white at the time. And so that's actually the first zombie movie that was out there where this cult. But I like that you also said, it's probably not going to happen. That's what makes it so exciting, having that childlike in us thinking it probably won't happen, but What if? What
Yeah, you can,
would I do
exactly.
to
It's
prepare?
that what if factor, because it just lets your imagination just go kind of wild. It's like, what if it did this, and how would I react? And it's just kind of a lot of fun, especially when you get with your friends that also kind of like the zombie genre as well.
Yeah. When you were growing up, what scary or sci-fi movie impacted you? Like, which is one that you look back and you can just go back in time when you think about that?
It's probably a few because I love sci-fi so much. Like I'll try. Sometimes sci-fi kind of goes into the horror realm,
Yeah.
and I'm not a big horror fan,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you, like, one that really impacted me was there was actually a couple. One is Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, and that's kind of,
Oh,
it had like a subtle kind of psychological drama. But I'm telling you, after I watched that as a kid, I was kind of scared.
yes.
And then, you look at something a little bit more hardcore like The Exorcist. And I'm like, why would any parent let their child watch The Exorcist? That movie was just terribly scary.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
The one that there's two for my childhood. Well, I was more of a teenager. Was Halloween with
Mm-hmm.
Lee Curtis. That was like Halloween. It was just like,
Yes.
and then the other one
Mm-hmm.
was Jaws. I mean, still to this day, I went to Hawaii for the first time 2 years ago when my daughter Michelle got married, and my girlfriend, she was out in the ocean on the little floating noodles, and she's like, "Come on, come on!" And all I could think of was Jaws, the great white shark, and occasionally they have the attacks, and I mean, so I'm out
Yeah.
there, and all that the song do 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 do. So I just, it's just so funny, and thank you for sharing that. So, you live in Florida now, in the Orlando, Florida area. Have you always lived in Florida?
Actually, I've kind of moved around a little bit because I was in the military. So I grew up, I was born and raised in Indiana. And then I left there right after high school and I was in the military. And so I moved, around. I was in Germany and Colorado and Germany again. And I was in, the Persian Gulf War and all that good stuff. And then finally, we decided to kind of set our roots up here in Florida, which was one of the best things for me because I love it down here. I love the weather. It's like, it's nice and it's cool right now and not too cold. So, and the heat doesn't bother me and just everything about it, the birds singing and it's just a lot of fun down here. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm kitty corner here in Washington State, and I'm looking outside with the birds. We have seagulls I have the seagulls flying
Oh,
by.
wow.
About the birds because I love to go out with I get old stale bread and I go out and I feed the birds. But I still think about the movie, and
Yeah.
I just absolutely love it. So how can people find you? What's the best way for them to contact you? Because I'm going to add all your contact information, but for those that are watching live right now, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, Elizabeth?
Well, definitely one of the best ways to reach me is on Twitter because I'm on there like all day long and half the night sometimes. And that's at Smart Office Help. So that's the name of our business, Smart Office Help. And actually across the social networks, our actual handle is Smart Office Help, so it's very easy to find. And then, of course, I'm over on LinkedIn as well, so people can find me over there at Elizabeth M. Hall on LinkedIn. And of course, I'll give you the links to those as well. And then the last place where I'm working feverishly on more courses, I'm actually working on a new course right now, and that's over at the Twitter Mastery Lab. I'm working on a free email course that will go out to people so that they can kind of understand if Twitter is a good place for them to be as far as their business. Because let's face it, not every business, and there's only a few in the industries, maybe they're not suited for. So I would never just tell people you just need to be on Twitter just because that's where I teach people at. Yeah. If that's not your industry, then I will quickly tell you this is probably not a good place for you. But yeah, of the TwitterMasteryLab.com as well.
good. You mentioned smart office help earlier in the show. So we have a few minutes left. Can you express with the people what smart office help is?
Well, Smart Office Help is actually it's a Twitter consultancy agency, and we help businesses to market their company on Twitter. We do Twitter management if people can't seem to do it themselves. We train and consult business owners on how to do it themselves if that's something that they wanted to do. And we have offices here in the US and also in the UK as well. So we have, kind of a bit of a global thing going there.
Yes, you do have global. One of the questions when I was mentioning that I was having you on the show, people were asking me, like, who is the ideal client for you? Is it people with MLM? Can you help people that sell products like Mary Kay or Nerium? Can you help them with Twitter, or business coaches, or healers? There's a lot of healers that follow the show. I mean, can you help all of these people, or do you have a certain demographic that you help?
I actually don't have a certain demographic as far as the industry goes.
Okay.
But the demographic it would be business owners, because everything that we teach for Twitter is tailored towards businesses.
Yeah.
Now, because the industries, like almost everything that we teach, it can go across the board for every industry.
Okay.
And so, if you're a real estate agent, we can help you there. Even if you're in the financial services realm, we can help you. The intuitives, the coaches and trainers, they all do very well on Twitter. And so it kind of runs a gamut. Yeah. It's just understanding who the audience is. And then it's all about your audience.
Yeah.
Once you know who the audience is, that makes things like, it just opens up just a wealth of information there. Once you know who it is, you know who to look for, how to attract that audience, and you know how to kind of guide them to where they need to go and get the information they're looking for.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, you've also shared that you've done a lot of traveling. So where are some of the places that you've been that you would recommend? Because a lot of people, they love to travel that follow the show too. So where's a couple of the places you've been that you really enjoyed? And maybe something you just stay away from too.
I don't think I've been to any place that you need to stay away from, but I'll tell you one of the best places I've been to was Bali in Indonesia. Ooh. And I actually stayed there for almost a month, and it was just so much to see. And if any of your viewers have ever seen Eat, Pray, and Love with Julia Roberts, that was the place I stayed in the little town where she actually shot the actual movie. So that was actually interesting. And the culture there is so vibrant. And I went out every day and I did things. And it's an inexpensive trip as well. So you don't have to have a lot of money to actually stay there. Even though I stayed there for a month, I can assure you, I was on a very low budget, and I still got to see.
You would think that that would be something that was a lot of money when you hear about Bali. So I love that you did that. And where's another place that you've been to that you liked?
Another good place that I went to was South Africa. I actually traveled to South Africa, and I went to a number of places there. I started in Johannesburg, and then I went to Kruger National Park. And I spent the most time there at Kruger, and that's like the US's equivalent to Yellowstone Park. Okay. And I'll tell you, once you go there, you'll never look at an animal in a zoo again. You won't want to go to a zoo because it is incredible. And then I went to Cape Town also. So I went to a few places while I was there. So I would definitely recommend Kruger National Park in Cape Town in South Africa for people to go to.
So the small town girl from Indiana is able to travel the world, and I love that you came on the show today because you're sharing with the kittens, the Prancing Kittens. And I do hope that you come on and join us on the Prancing Kitten page on Facebook, Elizabeth, because you make it.
I will.
It's so important for women to know that they can go anywhere they want, that their dreams can be whatever they want to be. I mean, and you've just shared this small town girl that is continuing to live your dream, and you're helping so many people around the world. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I was so excited to do this with you today. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you just taking the time out of your busy schedule has just been absolute treat. And for those of you watching, we will be back next Monday. So until then, have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Bye.